Hi everyone, my name is Katie Martino Lopez and I am the pastry chef behind Katie Bakes for Casey. Welcome to my first installment of video how-tos, pro tips that follow along with recipes and just bits and pieces of things I've picked up in the trade that I've been in for going on 25 years. I want to give you a little bit of background about myself. My name is, again, Katie Lopez. I'm a pastry chef and I have a child with massive amount of food allergies. That's my youngest son, Casey. That's how Katie Bakes for Casey was born. I have 3 boys. Casey's my youngest. He has right now, if we add them all up, a little over 30 food allergies. He also has FPIES. He has asthma, all sorts of good stuff like that. I come from a long line of food allergies, when we know that can be very hereditary. I have a lot of food intolerances and allergies I outgrew since I was a child. So even though this wasn't completely foreign to me, because my older 2 boys, Jude and Gabriel, had FPIES and some food allergies they outgrew, it was never to the degree that Casey had. So I said to myself, this is my background. This is what I do for a living. I have to be able to take what I know, reconfigure it, and make it all safe for Casey. And I have to tell you something. It's very, very humbling that when you think you're pretty good at your trade and then you have to relearn everything, it's very, very difficult and very humbling. There was a point where I was making Casey's recipes with Ellicare and Neo-Kate formula and, so many of the, gluten-free or allergy-friendly staples he couldn't have. So gradually over time, he's passed food challenges. We've been able to introduce more. And I finally got the confidence to go ahead and start my blog, start my website, Katie Bakes for Casey, Instagram, and this is my first video. I taught at a culinary school for many years, professional baking and pastry programs. So this is very natural to me. I'm sorry, I'm a Long Island girl, New York. You're gonna hear my accent. Sorry if I talk fast. Sorry if I sound a bit, but that's my accent. That's the way I am. But I love teaching. I love showing tips. I love trying to help make people's lives easier. And as an allergy parent, we don't get very many chances to have easier kitchen lives. And these are just little tips I want to show how to stretch things. So for example, today I'm going to show how to make cookie doughs and put them away in your freezer. It's all about working harder. Smarter and not harder. And that's what we do in professional kitchens. I used to tell my classes on the first day of the cakes unit, so when you order a cake from a bakery, that morning when you say, I want my cake freshly made and you're gonna be doing it that day, right? They're like, absolutely, of course we are, because it's not gonna happen. Cakes are made ahead of time. They're put in the freezer or kept in the refrigerator. Why? Well, they have to work smarter. They also have to think about the product and how it's going to look best. When you try and split and fill and ice a fresh cake, it doesn't come out very good. Crumbs are everywhere. You do it overnight, let it sit in the fridge, and it's much tighter, the crumbs are better, and it's cleaner cake. There's a reason behind everything. Now, the cookie dough hack I'm going to show you today is great for allergy parents because, or even anyone, for that matter, because you don't always want 4 dozen cookies at one time. Sometimes you just need a handful. You need a couple of sweet things. Your child is going to a party. You want to send them with a couple of safe cookies for dessert. You can pull them right out of the freezer and ready to go. I was an intern when I was in culinary school. I went to the French Culinary Institute in Manhattan, and I went and worked as an unpaid intern at the Garden City Hotel, very well-known 5-star hotel here on Long Island. And I was shocked when I saw all of these things that happen. There's something called a speed rack. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, or a cooling rack, a rolling rack is how we know it in a professional kitchen. It's about taller than me. I'm 5'5", and there's all rows that you put full-size sheet pans in. And I walked into the walk-in freezer that first day when they were showing me around and saw racks of these cookie doughs just lined up in the freezer ready to go. So full-size sheet pans are about this big, just with these tight scoops of dough next to each other. And I never knew such a thing was possible, but then I understood why. You have a banquet for 500 people. You're not making enough cookies for that many people all in one shot, ready to go. So again, it's working smarter and not harder. And if you have a full day of prep that you're bulking up your freezer, then it just makes life that much easier that you're ready to go having this done, okay? So a couple of the things that I can't live without in my kitchen: parchment paper. I have my parchment paper all the time. Never, ever, ever buy the ones in the store that are on a roll. First of all, the rolls are annoying. They curl up on you, and it's expensive. I just order on Amazon half size for a half size pan, because I use half size sheet pans in my kitchen, and they go so far. You split them in half, you cut them in fourths, you make paper cones out of them for piping, wrap in the freezer, I bake on them. I just did everything. And if you are making a whole bunch of cookies at one time, you can reuse them for a couple of different batches, because if they shouldn't soak up too much, and as long as they're not baking to the point that they're flaking, then they're okay to reuse. So again, I buy sheets on Amazon. They go for a really, really long time, as opposed to those dinky rolls that don't last long. It's about half the price, and you're getting a fraction of the mileage out of it. These cookie scoops, sometimes they're called dishers professionally. You find them on Amazon as well. They're all different sizes. I have a bunch depending on what I'm doing. This is a 2 tablespoon scoop. Most drop cookie doughs that you make, oatmeal raisin, chocolate chip, things like that, they call for putting them on your sheet in 2 tablespoon portions. Well, this, my friend, is a 2 tablespoon portion. This is also used in a professional kitchen because we're going to get a perfect yield every time. We want to know how far we can go with our product, how much you're going to get out of it every time, and then you'll be able to know as well. So when I make my doughs, I'm getting pretty much 4 dozen, 48 cookies out of each one. So I use this. And I'll show you in a second how we're going to scoop them for our freezer hack. They do come in bigger sizes, like 3, 4, 5. And this I use for something more like scones or anything, or monster cookies if I make really, really big ones. And they're great to have. They're not that expensive. And they're better than the ones that squeeze on the bottom, because those break really, really easy. This on the bottom that actually gets the dough out, they break real easy with those, and these are much more stable and substantial. So they're worth a couple extra bucks, but again, they're really, really not that much. My freezer bags, I always have a ton of freezer bags ready to go, and I like the ones that I can write on so I can label, and I'm always aware of what's in the freezer, because I'm like doomsday prepper when it comes to freezing stuff, whether it be for Casey's safe baked goods, which my other boys eat as well and love, my husband and my mom who lives with us as well. And I can reuse them. I'm all about reusing if you can, because nothing's cheap. And what's going on right now with the pandemic, we have to be smarter as allergy parents, because we don't know if we can always find the product that we need. So that's why I love the freezer. You figure out what you can do, how long you can freeze it for, and then it's always ready for you to go, okay? So what I'm gonna show you is a really cool hack about making your dough, putting it in the freezer, always ready for you to go. Again, smarter, not harder. So I have my chocolate chip cookie dough. I made, yesterday was a freezer day. So I did pancakes, and I did energy balls, and I did oatmeal raisin, chocolate chip dough, icebox dough, which I'll show you about another time, refrigerator slice and bake cookies, because I have my Cuisinart mixer out, because I don't want to say this out loud, but after years of being very devoted to KitchenAid, I switched to a Cuisinart stand mixer. And I have to tell you, it's cheaper and it works great. And the quart size capacity in the mixer is fantastic. Love it. So if you're doing one dough, you might as well do a whole bunch. And you do them in the order that makes sense, that you don't even have to wash the bowl in between. So for example, I start with the plain vanilla icebox cookie dough, scoop it all out. Same kind of dough is going in there. My chocolate chip cookie dough goes in. Same kind of dough, same base. Your fat, your sugar, your flour. Nothing different. Why would you have to wash the bowl and the paddle? When that's done, scoop it out. Then I do the oatmeal raisin dough. One bowl. You have to wash it after you do just all of them. You never have to do them in between. Makes life so much easier. Now, especially because I have to do gluten-free for me and for Casey, especially. Casey's anaphylactic to wheat. He actually had his last anaphylaxis. He's had, I think, 5, 6 anaphylaxis at this point. He's just turned 4 in November. Wheat's one of his highest allergens, and everything is gluten-free that we make here in the house. And when you make gluten-free doughs, they're better if they sit for a little bit longer because they're made with flours such as rice and potato starch, and it's better if they can absorb for a little while some of the moisture. They're not as dry, they're not as gritty, and I like to let my cookie doughs sit overnight. Develops the flavor, a little bit easier to scoop. And I do not, if you're trying to speed up the chilling process on your cookie dough, like if your fat got too soft in the mixing process, don't put it in the freezer, because all that's going to happen is the top surface and the sides of the bowl, like right here where it's metal, that's going to get frozen and really, really cold. The inside is still going to stay soft, and you're going to have an inconsistent consistency, if that makes sense to you. So just put them in the fridge, few hours, overnight, ready to go. Just keep them well wrapped so they don't absorb any smells. We are lucky enough to have 2 refrigerator and freezers in the house, and Casey has dedicated spots in both those fridge and freezers for when I'm bulking up with him. So I just put his aside and ready to go. So what I use when I do my little freezer hack here, I just buy the little disposable pans at the supermarket. You get them in 5-6 packs, and I love these because they're great for the freezer, that they could stack up neatly and evenly. I can reuse them. I reuse a lot of stuff. Like I said, I wash, even though they might get a little bent out of shape because it's the thin aluminum, I could still reuse them. And my parchment paper, love my parchment, cut them up, ready to go, have my bags labeled. Now I scoop my oatmeal raisin, that's already in the fridge, I'll show you that in a minute, but I'm going to use my disher here. Now, little fun fact, I'm actually a natural lefty. I had the kind of last wave of very, shall we say, serious and particular nuns as a child in Catholic school, that they made me a lefty to a righty. So this is a righty scoop, so I'm sorry for the lefties out there. My middle son Gabriel is a lefty, and you know, hashtag lefty problems that I see with him. But this is the one downfall of this, is that it is a ready scoop. But if you learn to become ambidextrous doing stuff like this, it helps out a lot. You don't get the claw, the hand cramp. So again, work smarter, not harder. You're gonna put your stuff in the order that it's gonna make sense to scoop. You don't wanna be crossing over, so you wanna put things in the order it's gonna make sense. You're a righty, put your stuff to the righty. So you're gonna scoop and you're gonna go furthest way over, because then you're not crossing over. It wouldn't make sense to go this way, having your cookie dough like this. As long as it's going in the order you need it to go, have it make sense, but you're still crossing over this way. This, it's easier on your shoulder, easier when working, smarter, not harder. I started my first row underneath, if you can see. So I have my scoops nice and tight together. That's the whole point. We're gonna put them really close together to freeze them so they're not jumbled on top of each other. And it's gonna stay perfectly frozen in these bowls, that when you're ready, you just pop out the frozen cookie dough scoops and put them in the oven, and you're ready to go. You can defrost them, you don't even have to, it's just a couple of extra minutes. So we're gonna scoop out the cookie dough. This is a little softer than I would normally like to work with, just because I've been yapping away over here. If your cookie dough is very, very hard, very difficult to scoop, you can get keep a tall cup of hot water next to you. So for example, my favorite drinking cup right here, yay, let's go Islanders, big hockey fan. Something like this is great, that you would dip your cookie scoop in for hot water and dab it off, and it won't heat up the dough. It'll just do it enough to warm up the metal of the scoop and get it out. So don't be afraid to use your fingers, clean fingers of course, keeping everything safe, no cross-contamination. And look how we're doing here, nice tight scoops in even rows, so we know that we have the same amount on each level. So when you're doing your final count, you know how many scoops you got. So right now I have 5 by 4, so I have 20 on each level. So I'm at 40 cookies already. Have my squares of parchment cut, ready to go. One of these half sheet pan size parchment will give me 4 rectangles that are perfect for this. We're gonna go on top here. I'm not gonna get another 20 out of this, that's for sure. Now these are a type of cookie called a drop cookie. If you didn't know, there are 8 different types of cookies. Who knew? I know, because I'm a chef and I had to teach it, but not everyone does. This is an example of a drop cookie. Why? You scoop, you drop, you bake, you're done. But these are the ones that actually freeze, some of the ones that freeze the best because they're fat-based, either whatever fat is safe for you, butter, shortening, margarine, plant-based, vegan margarines, whatever's safe for you. That mixed with your sugar, it's usually the creaming method, where you mix your fat with your sugar, make the best kind of frozen cookies. I am not a big fan of freezing baked cookies. I know a lot of people do it. I really only do it at Christmas time when we have leftover Christmas cookies because I hate seeing all that work go to waste. We had a lot of extras here because we didn't see everyone because of stupid COVID. So I did freeze some of my cookies. Some freeze better than others, but you have to be very careful. I'm a fan of freezing unbaked dough, or even if I have pie dough or roll out cookie dough, make the dough, freeze the dough, defrost the dough, and then bake it. It keeps a lot better. But these are perfect for freezing. These you could do 2 months in advance and they'll be great. So we're gonna scoop this all out. Almost done here. And I basically got my perfect yield here of 4 dozen cookies per batch of cookie dough. And why is that? Because that is thanks to my beautiful ice cream scoop right here. I got my perfect 48, okay? I'm gonna put that aside. Let's grab a little towel. Okay, so chocolate chip cookies ready to go in my fridge. These are my oatmeal raisins that I did before. Get a little bit more of a yield out of this one. So here are my oatmeal raisins. So open up my bag. Okay, I'm gonna pop that in there. Like that. Try and get as much air as you can. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing with chocolate chip. Very important, always have your date on your cookies. You could make another batch and not remember which was the older one. So always date, but I reuse my bags as well. So, you know, I may just have to re-scratch from time to time. And that's it. I'm gonna pop them in my freezer. I have these already, for example, in my freezer. So this is how you know that I reuse things. If you can see, it says Linzer on there. 12. This is when I made my Linzer cookie dough for Christmas. Put them in the bag, but why would I get rid of this bag? You don't, you reuse them. And so you know that this is something I do on my everyday basis. These are the leftover chocolate chip cookies that I have in the freezer. Okay, I made these about 3 weeks ago. These fly out of my house. And when I tell you fly, I mean fly. My boys are addicted to these. My husband is addicted to these. And I just used a lot for my husband's ice cream cookie cake. Take a walk over to KBFC.com. You'll see the recipe for vegan, gluten-free, top 8 friendly, customizable, anything you need ice cream cake. And that one was awesome. But I used a lot of the cookies for that one. So alternatively, if you don't want to leave them in your freezer, if you don't have a ton of freezer space to leave them stacked like this, wait overnight for them to freeze and you can just do this. Take the frozen ice cream cookie dough balls, cookie dough balls, and pop them in here like this, okay? And then you won't have the pan taking up as much room. But you have to do this when this is frozen. You cannot do this if the cookie dough is not frozen, because then they're all gonna stick together in one big lump. So alternatively, you can do that as well. And you can see, I'm not kidding when I say I reuse, because this thing is getting mangled. This has been on maybe its 4th reuse, and guess what? I'm gonna use it again. And I'm gonna reuse my parchment too, as long as it didn't get too nasty, because it's just going in and out of the freezer. Nothing else has happened to it. It's not something that the moisture is going to affect the product. So that's it. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you liked it. To do your cookie hack, how to make things smarter, not harder for yourself, again, especially as allergy parents. I really want to come back with more. I'm enjoying doing this. It's a little scary because you're putting yourself out there, and I probably put on too much makeup because I was a little nervous. This was my first time doing this, but I'm a mom and I work part-time doing what I can, teaching at a local culinary school. One of my very, very good friends has, but it's been much slower since the pandemic. And Casey has some other medical conditions besides all his allergies, so I couldn't go back to work right away after he was born. So this is a way of taking everything I love and channeling it. I want to help people. I want to come up with these fun recipes. I want to show you how to do stuff that's going to make your life easier, because my motto was always, and if you ever found one of my former students, they will always tell you, life is short, eat dessert first. Well, you'll understand this now as an allergy parent. My motto on Katie Bakes for Casey is life is short, so eat dessert first safely, because that's all about keeping ourselves safe when we have food intolerances, avoidances, allergies. It's all about staying safe. And in this day and age, everything that's going on, we want something that's going to make us feel happy, feel good, and baking is the best way. It's a great way to get kids involved. So good with math. My boys love to bake. It's so funny because Casey loves doing everything in the kitchen, and he probably eats better than the other boys because he has to eat real foods and whole foods. So I have plastic knives that I get on Amazon that he can play with. He has his own cutting boards, everything underneath me right here. These are most of his cooking supplies, and he knows, and we do, and we have fun together, and it's a great way to pass time, especially what's going on in this crazy world. So I guess I'm going to be one of those people now who have to say the words like and subscribe. So like and subscribe. Come back. I'm going to start putting up more. I'm on Instagram, Katie Bakes for Casey, Facebook, Katie Bakes for Casey page, and my website, katiebakesforcasey.com, where I have savory recipes as well. I'm a good Italian girl. Got some good, yummy recipes up there. I love my Instant Pot. I'm obsessed with it. I do a lot of stuff with it. But really detailed instructions, and there's resource pages about weights and measures and all sorts of good stuff like that. It took me a really long time because I just, again, want to help people. And as I hear Casey yelling downstairs at my husband, I think it's time to go. So thank you so much for your time, and have a great day, everyone. Take care. And now I lean over and do the final push. Bye.